to be fully known and unconditionally loved by the same people in our life. That's where life comes. And then alongside of those people, we get to change the world. So healthy people, whole people, bring wholeness to others. Hurt people hurt people. Frustrated people frustrate people. But loved people love people. And whole people, healthy people, bring wholeness and health to others, one at a time, or even as in communities as a whole.
Welcome to Being Well and Working Together, a podcast powered by the nonprofit StoryConnect. These conversations introduce us to the guides who help us make the world a better place right where we are by doing both, becoming well and working together. One of the most loving things you can do for the people you love is to be well yourself. And we don't wake up one day being someone we have not been becoming. Your story, every moment, matters. And it's not good or effective to do this alone. We need to do it together. These conversations elevate who's already working together so we can step in and practice too. At StoryConnect, we believe we don't have a resource problem, we have a connection problem. Let us help you connect with the right resources in the right way and at the right time. If you'd like to help others be well and work together, fuel the work as a financial partner, and take a moment to trigger the algorithm to say, hey, this seems valuable, which means doing all the things, rating, commenting, subscribing, and sharing, extending the reach. Enjoy the conversation. I hope it helps you make the world a better place for you and for the people you love. Hello, listener. We are here today on the 3 Words podcast. Sorry. That's your podcast.
Bro, that's my podcast.
That's your podcast. We're here today with my mentor in college, friend and life coach, Dr. Michael Brown. And today we have the honor and the privilege of teasing out some of the depths and the widths of 3 Words. Dr. Michael Brown hosts 3 Words podcasts. And so I'll let you introduce yourself in a second, but what are our 3 words today?
Tech, wise, tribe.
Yes, they are. Okay. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Michael.
Yeah, so Dr. Michael Brown, I've known Paul Heminger for many, many, many years, from his undergraduate years here at university. And most people refer to me as DMB, which is the company that I founded and the CEO of, DMB Coaching. And I am a life coach. I am a sports performance coach, a marriage coach, an executive coach, a parenting coach, a fitness coach. I mean, the same conversations, Paul, that we're having here in this podcast format are the same conversations I'm having in boardrooms, in locker rooms, in living rooms, on a stage, in ballrooms. They all are quite similar, but very, very different and contextualized based upon who is sitting with me. And so that's what I do. I get to work in a variety of industries around the globe, consulting, educating, coaching, building curriculum. And it's a pleasure to be with you today.
And one of the deepest moments that we've had was that I really cared for some reason in college about those who lacked sanitary water. And it was like 4,200 kids died every day. And kind of you took an interest in saying, yeah, thanks for doing something. Thanks for, and there was a moment that I was like, ugh, I need some help. And then it felt like you called the cavalry and you provided some energy. And these are probably moments, listener, these are moments that Michael has probably many times a day where someone's like, I need a little help. And he's like, got it, got you. And he's with you and proximate and cares. And I think because of that and all the things that he's learned and shared with so many people, there's these deep moments that people get to have in their life. And overflow builds a beautiful community of folks who just, I think, love and serve well.
Thank you for your kind words, my friend. Thank you.
And then the second deep moment was communally. So I think it was Michael started Vanguard, which was men helping men be better men. And now we have started a version of that in our county now, 15 years later, with a really awesome core team. And so the influence just continues to overflow. But today on the on the TechWise Tribe podcast, we're going to be teasing out these 3 words in the way that you would in all those different settings. We'll try to focus on one and then move to the next. So the first word is tech, where the subtext is resisting unnecessary technology. And on my personal Spotify playlist for this word, there's 3 interviews you've done on the 3 Words podcast specifically about that. So all your thinking and maybe some of those interviews, like what do you notice about tech?
Well, we've obviously done over 200 episodes of 3 Words podcast, bite-sized conversations with a guest in my studio. And one that pops out to me immediately is with my friend Greg Jenkins, and it was Rethink Social Media. And then my boys, my 2 oldest sons, did one on decrease screen time. And those were 2 really powerful episodes. Because again, it's not about, in my mind, Paul, restriction. It's more about contextualizing. It's more about choosing proactively in what your relationship with technology is going to look like. In fact, as you know, I travel around the country, particularly working with Gen Z, these younger individuals who keep talking to me about their addiction to their phone or to technology or to movies or social media. And they speak about their addiction to it as though it is a circumstance. Social media today, Instagram and movies and TikTok, and I can't believe what it's doing to me. And my reminder to them is, well, you're picking up your phone. You're turning on the channel. You logged into TikTok. Like, it's a circumstance. Your relationship with technology is not a circumstance. Not everyone's doing it. You can actually choose, because everything in our lives, Paul, is either a choice or a circumstance. And what happens typically, so if someone came to me and said, hey, how do I decrease, or how do I frame, or how do I become a better steward of my time regarding technology, I'd say, well, the good news is this. Everything regarding technology is your choice. And so if it's in the choice column, you are empowered to change and to make whatever decisions you want. If you keep thinking it's out here in the circumstance column, you're going to keep getting stuck. And so I think that's one of the first things that I think of when I think of technology. It is a tool. Obviously, here we are virtually having this conversation. We're using technology to be able to make the world a better place and to forward ideas that will transform people and communities. But we get to decide in what spaces and what places and what are our limits and how much time. And so I think that's really the conversation.
Yeah, no one's saying, hey, look at your phone. Hey, check that thing.
Yes.
Hey, go watch that movie.
Well, and it's interesting, if I may, I'm in the process of writing 40 short books, 40 one-hour reads as a part of what's called the Essential Conversations series. And the first book that my best friend, Dr. Bo Johnson, and I wrote was called Be Fully Present. You'll laugh at this, Paul, and your listeners. All of our books are actually going to be 3 words as well. But the first book we wrote is Be Fully Present, and we talk about our relationship with our phone, particularly, and how often it is a toxic relationship. That literally you are carrying with you in your pocket or in your hand a form of technology that is working really hard, if not overtime, to get you to be completely obsessed with notifications and the way that the videos grab your attention and the dopamine hits. And so it's like, what does it look like to have a healthy relationship with our phone? Again, that's a choice, not a circumstance. But it's also the thing that I most desire for your listeners. And the thing I would most want for you and for me is not just to be living, but to be fully alive. And one of the essential elements of being fully alive is being fully present. And to be fully present in the here and now, in this moment, even with you, or and wherever you are and wherever you're listening to this podcast and whatever platform, to be fully present in the now. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again here because it's timely and it ties into technology, in that most of us spend 95% of our lives somewhere other than here. We spend it either wandering backwards or worrying forward or wondering about the past and what did that comment mean and what did that email mean and what did that conversation and that person said that gave me that look. We're in the past or we're in the future, and all that worrying is borrowing the sorrow from tomorrow and dragging it into today. And most of what we're worried about is not even going to happen. And even if it does, why do we want to experience it twice? Why now once in our imagination and then when it actually happens? So it's interesting to be right here and now requires a lot of practice and a lot of intentionality. And so we have to rethink and reimagine our relationship with technology in order to do the thing that probably is the pathway to us being most fully alive.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Um, I think we both have good friends who are counselors and therapists. And I think the deep well here also is that the pull of technology and how it's designed, the notifications relies on us to make consistent habit forming choices. And we can choose how we form those habits. And I found in my own life, because I have these tech-wise rhythms in my life that I've been working on for the past 6 to 7 years, and I keep them updated kind of like on the website just to help people give a template or a format of the choices that I am seeking to try to make every day. One of the things I've noticed is that when I reach towards tech, my phone device, whatever, oftentimes I might be reaching towards it, but and sometimes I'm running away from something. And it's because whatever I'm running away from, some anxiety or discomfort, I find in the comfort of whatever dopamine is on the other side of that experience. And so for being fully present, I have another mentor who would say that the greatest gift that you can give anyone, including yourself, is to be present. It's the greatest present is presence. And the last part of that is that what's between you and that presence, that full presence, is your work. And work might mean what needs to be healed from the past that you're running from to reorient, rewire that, to be intentional about it so that what you are going towards, the choices you are going towards, leads to the healing and freedom of yourself and others. So I'm sure that this feels familiar
It
to you,
does.
but what are you hearing?
Well, what I'm hearing as well is, and I just came from a university in the South just yesterday. We spent 5 days with 250 college men, and I
Mm,
was there to actually help mentor them, myself and two other team members with our DMB Coaching, to really be able to help them think about their lives and the different dimensions of their
mhm,
lives. And I know we'll talk about wellness and
mhm,
wisdom in a little bit, but I think that what was interesting is their relationship with technology kept coming up, and their relationship with a variety of facets of their life where they are seeking to find fulfillment and joy, satisfaction, comfort, the things that you spoke about. So
mm,
even when I think about technology, I don't think about is there a right or a wrong. The issue
mhm,
is what's working.
mm,
I love
mhm,
Wednesdays. Wednesdays are my favorite day of the week because every Wednesday I take 15 minutes and I do what's called Why Wednesday. And why am I doing the
mm,
things that I'm doing? And I kind
mm,
of begin to think and go through the different dimensions of my life and think, why am I doing the things that I am I doing, and are they producing the results that I want? Like,
mhm,
are my choices working to bring the greatest joy, presence, life? And so I think what's happening often is I say, it's not that you're doing bad things, my friends. It's
mm,
not that you're doing even
mhm,
wrong things. It's that you are
mhm,
seeking to meet legitimate needs in
mhm.
illegitimate ways. And so I
Yes.
think in many ways that's where technology, I want to make sure that I am not seeking to use technology to meet legitimate needs in illegitimate ways, which is why for me even, I love to when I'm reaching for my phone or if I'm going to check social media, because obviously I'm all over social media and it's always interesting to me, is to say, I'm going to take the next 10 minutes and do that.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to take the next, 15 minutes and do that. I'm going to take this 5 minutes. I'm going to check something real quick. But even as I reach for my phone, I've challenged people over the years, as I reach for my phone, would I pause for a minute, take a deep breath, and say something out loud that I'm most grateful
Mm,
every time I reach for my, just little things that begin to connect real life giving practices to something that might be not as life giving, but is needed
mhm,
for functionality, for communication, for connection to people. I'm not a big fan of saying I'm just going to delete every app off my phone. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to never. That's not sustainable. It may be
Hmm.
for some. It's not for me. So I'd rather be able
Hmm.
to carry my phone at times, stick it in a drawer, to put it in its place, to remind
Hmm.
to remind my phone that I'm in charge, not it is. And so that's how I think about
Hmm.
those things.
Hmm. Man, doesn't that feel like I felt that moment when you reached and paused? And I invite the listener to try that once, to imagine in their body, what am I maybe running from something? Wait, what am I so grateful for? And how might that disrupt whatever is being reached for? That is a beautiful practice. I think now then transitioning, so tech being choice, not circumstance. In many ways, resisting certain choices that form certain habits, putting it in its place, developing those rhythms. For what? If we're resisting technology in kind of the unnecessary ways that could hurt us or others, if we transition to wisdom, seeking wisdom in how we steward our time and our choices. Now, I would like to name the whole thing Tech Well Tribe, because I want people to be well. And if you're listening to this on the being well and working together, like, wellness is a really important word. Like, there are parts of us that aren't well, and it would be nice if they were. And so to me, the seeking of wisdom is the focusing on, like, where are we not well and how do we become well in our choices? And that helps round out, well, there's many different ways of looking at wellness. And so in the early 1990s, it was Dr. Peggy Swarbrick looked at the 8 different dimensions of wellness, and that became pretty popular. But then I so appreciate your framework of the 12 dimension. We won't go into each one, but kind of tease out wellness, being well, how that eventually how that relates to wisdom, and then a little bit about the 12 dimensions and even teasing one of them out.
Yeah. I'll begin with this: that empty cups can't pour,
Mm,
and
yeah.
we do not impart what we do not possess. And so in many ways, what's inside of me, the well, I want wellness within
Yeah.
my well, because from this well comes
Mm,
the coaching, comes the conversations, comes the life, comes the encouragement, the support, the prayer, the challenge, all the things that come out of me. I want it to come out of a place of health and of wellness. And for many, many years, people have asked me, what does it mean to be, back to your wise, tech wise, what does it mean to be wise? And what is wellness? And I'll begin by saying simply this: that I work on a college campus. I spend a lot of time with really, really smart people who are
mhm,
knowledgeable but are not wise. Not all of
mm,
them, but there's a big difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge means I know a lot, deep and wide, about a particular topic. Wisdom is the ability to live life well. And again, I've said
mm,
this oftentimes, even as I'm coaching young professionals now, I'm like, I know you're spending so much time building your brand
mm,
and getting that perfect resume and having those perfect bullet points and doing, would would you just pause and
mm,
and acknowledge that your brand might be far ahead who you become. And so I think wellness is all about who am I becoming. And so I even encourage particularly young men, why don't you spend more time becoming the guy than building the brand? And as you
mhm,
become the guy, meaning healthy, whole, um, people are going to then hire you as the person and not the position, because you're that human
mm,
being, that healthy individual. And so when people say, what does it mean? Again, back to what I said before, what does it mean to be fully alive? This is what I think it means to be fully alive, to be actually connecting with each of the 12 dimensions of life on a regular basis across the 4 seasons of life, because they're going to look different in each of the 12 dimensions. And again, I'm not saying anything that's rocket science, but I think about some of the 12 dimensions would be physical dimension and the emotional dimension, the relational dimension, which I know we'll talk about community and we'll talk about the tribe, but under the relational dimension kind of framework is just relationship with family, parents, children, extended family, strangers, friends, acquaintances, romantic others. Wow, there's just so much there in the relational dimension, the intellectual dimension, how we learn, how we grow formally, informally, the spiritual dimension, our connection with otherness, with the ultimate within that spiritual dimension often is the reality of how do we make sense of where we've come from and why we're here and where we're going. There's the moral dimension, which for me is more about calling and purpose, ethics, and what is right, wrong, good, bad, better, best. There is the financial dimension, which people are obviously very curious about and interested in. There's the recreational dimension, which sometimes people don't talk about, but how I choose what is fun,
Mm-hmm.
and then the nature of fun and how do I choose to have fun. The professional dimension, of course, which if I can say to your listeners, the career dimension, the professional dimension, it's 1/12 of your life, and yet we make
Mm-hmm.
it so central. Obviously, the cultural dimension, which is your connection to your race, ethnicity, geography, hometown, family of origin. There's so much in the cultural dimension, sexual dimension. We are sexual creatures. And so I actually build curriculum and I say to folks that I work with, yeah, which of the dimensions do you want to work? And oftentimes it's one or two. And I will encourage them, okay, but what does it look like to build a life, to design a week where you actually are putting an investment in each of those? Maybe not every week, but most weeks touch points in each of those areas that you're giving attention to so that you are not just your bank account and your job, or you're not just your family and your hobby, but that you're holistically well, healthy, whole, and not fragmented and not shallow.
Mm-hmm. Makes me want to zoom in and camp out in each dimension, which is good that you have so many podcasts where you get to, where you can zoom in and tease out and be conversational and be able to zoom in because each dimension is so important
Yeah.
to how the choices that we make in each dimension affect all other dimensions. So the complexity of our
Mm,
choices and how we're wired and our past, you pull one string, you pull all in some direction. And so to me, it's the complete holistic health of of a person. And I've often thought about this in stages and seasons of life and maturity is that sometimes it can become, for me, legalistic to the point where like I have to do this, or I'm not loved or seen. On the other side, I don't want to not do those things because I know that it would help me to be well. And so to me, walking that tightrope has always been an interesting process. Um, but it's a process of becoming. It's not a race, but it is intentional.
that's right.
And can you if you can you hear the phrase that I want you to say?
That you're not going to wake up someday having become someone you've not been becoming. In fact, I say this often. I did a podcast on this. Focus on becoming.
Yes.
And so you are a human being, listener,
Yeah.
not a human doing. And it's
Mhm.
interesting. And this is what's really fascinating about this whole becoming idea. You have 100% control at any given moment. And there's not a lot of places and spaces where you have 100% control. But in this particular world of becoming, you have 100% control over who you're becoming every given
Mhm.
moment. And usually the becoming is about qualities of the person, not accomplishments, not degrees, not money, not titles, not power, not authority.
Mhm.
Becoming
Mhm.
gracious, generous, tenacious, honest, empathetic, transparent. All of these are becoming statements that oftentimes people think are going to happen just magically.
Mm.
And here's what's most startling to me, my friend, is most people spend the first 60 years of their life marginalizing becoming, marginalizing their most important relationships, their spiritual vitality, their emotional health in order to advance career and make money.
Mm.
And then after 60, 65, in the few years we have left, we're spending all of our
Mm.
money in hopes of gaining back
Mm.
some of those things.
Ugh.
But with that said, my friend, there's something very interesting. I've been at many, many celebration of life services,
Mm.
obviously invited, and I officiate many of them. I'm very connected to people at the end of life, and no one is talking about anything else
Mm.
besides who you have become.
Mm.
And so why would we not spend more time in the becoming the guy, becoming the gal, becoming the human, and have 100% control over it? And it's the only thing that ultimately matters. But let me just make a point, and I know you're going to want to talk more about the tribe here in a minute, but I think I want to just continue to press in on this idea to our listeners on choices versus circumstances. You know, it's
Mhm.
interesting. Aristotle said it best: I am what I continually do. And even as
Mm.
we are engaging in this conversation right now, Paul, I am, as I sit before you on this screen, I am 100% the person I am. I am 100% the accumulation of my decisions and 0% the accumulation of my intentions. I am only
Mhm.
my
Mm.
choices. And
Yeah.
so when I think about choices and the power of choices, and again, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, Paul, but there's really only three choices in life. There's everything falls into one of three categories: something I start, something I stop, and something I sustain.
Mm.
Everything, everything is either a start, a stop, or I'm already doing the thing and I'm going to keep it going. Now, some would even say, well, I mean,
Yes.
there's a fourth, there's stall. Can I hit pause on this particular thing? But it's a stop, temporarily a stop. So
Mhm.
that's how I frame every choice. So even when I'm thinking about all of these areas of obviously technology,
Mhm.
now we're talking about wisdom and living my best life. I'm always
Mhm.
thinking in terms of, is there something I need to start, something
Mm.
I need to stop, and something I
Mhm.
need to sustain to
Mm.
continue to take me?
Mm. Um, you know, I love to get to do this. I started tearing up for a very it feels like a very personal reason. As you speak about end of life, and I'd like to tease this out as because we could go into the 4 seasons, but maybe not. Is that we locally started this it's called a refirement network. It says don't retire, refire, which like focuses a little bit on the
Mm.
vocational dimension. And we have like refirement pathways and repurpose promise, a book, a study, or what happened. And it was reimagine retirement and helping everyone in that phase of life be well and work together to make their life what they've invested in well enough and so that they can pour out. And initially we were looking for kind of the elder sages, those who have been intentional kind of their whole life. And it's been difficult to to gather those folks. And for those who continue to come to the table, they are almost like guardians over the city. And in friendship, they're pouring into others in their different seasons of life and doing it in friendship together, hoping to reclaim some of that life. But then we really camp out on that word legacy and how if we think about legacy not as a 60 plus thing, but a thing that starts as soon as you say it starts,
Right.
then when you become fully present, you're already leaving a legacy no matter what you do. And so becoming well is part of leaving your legacy to those you most care about and anyone you come in contact with.
Could I speak to that just for
So
a second? Obviously, you're talking
I
about that.
want to know what you're hearing.
Yeah, well, I'm always hearing things from you, Paul. You're very wise and insightful. And just to frame quickly, maybe this is another conversation for another podcast, but the four seasons, as I've conceptualized them: season of identity, investigation, influence, and then obviously inspiration, which is
Mm.
60 to 100. I love how you said refire, not retire. I could talk about all the seasons, but it seems like you're pressing me into the and leading me into that fourth season, which is the season of inspiration. It sounds like for those who might be listening who are coming out of the season of influence where you're in that spot doing only the things that you should do. It's interesting in that season of inspiration, as I call it, I talk about that's the time to embody five legacy choices. first of which is to spend time reflecting upon your life, relating to everyone, resolving to continue to serve, relaying your wisdom, and resourcing others generously. I think in this season, in fourth season, we invest most exclusively in meaningful relationships and pass along transformational wisdom and powerful life lessons to those who are behind us. And it is true, most people in that fourth season are not seeking to serve, they're seeking in this space of entitlement. Done all these things, not my time to be served. And I think that's so, so sad. And then back to legacy too, we talk all about, I want to leave a legacy. It's similar to becoming. We think we're magic, have left the legacy that we have been actually,
Yeah.
that we actually haven't been living. So actually one of my three
Yeah.
words, Cass, is live your legacy. Because everyone I talk to, when I chat with them, they want to live a life of purpose without living life on purpose. And they want to leave a legacy without living their legacy. Like, why would I want to do that now? Anything that I say I'm going to do later,
Yeah.
I'm going to do after this or after that, or there's no guarantee of tomorrow. There's no guarantee even for me to be here the rest of this day. So I want to start doing whatever I want, whoever I want to be at the end of my life. I need to practice those things now. Starting, stopping, and sustaining. The accumulation of who I am today is my choices.
This is so fun.
It's a blast.
It is a blast. As we transition into our last word for today, could you say the definition of wisdom again?
So the definition of wisdom, as I conceptualize it, is the ability and the choices to live life well.
I gave a fist pump because those two words are there. It feels providential that wisdom has a lot to do with living life well by being well and letting that overflow into others. And sometimes I have to, so my individual choices are my choices. I have experiences or circumstances that come into my life. And so much of what the richness and joy of life comes through relationships and working together, finding ways to partner and collaborate to do not what one person can do, but what many can do together when there's alignment of vision and strengths and capabilities and functions. And tribe is just another word for working together, movements, aligned vision, activity, things like that. And so as we move from people being well, how can we help to together restore life and I don't mean tribe as in one tribe.
Of course.
I mean a tribe of tribes, a team of teams, a network of networks, small and large groups of people that are figuring out how they align and don't align, but how they align to execute whatever they feel like they're being invited to execute. So kind of draw out that movemental work of relationships and community.
Well, I think it's important first to set the foundation to connect the wellness conversation to the tribe conversation, the wholeness conversation to the community conversation,
Yeah.
the health to the community, because we resemble with whom we relate.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be well. I'm not going to be whole without the tribe, without that community around me. Anybody who looks at themselves in the mirror and interprets their life on their own about themselves are always out of touch with reality. We must have the mirror of community and others who see us and know us. So again, I'm looking at my fourth book up behind my on the shoulder there, and be fully known.
Yeah.
To be fully known and unconditionally loved by the same people in our life. That's where life comes. And then alongside of those people, we get to change the world. So healthy people, whole people, bring wholeness to others. Hurt people hurt people. Frustrated people frustrate people, but loved people love people,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
whole people, healthy people bring wholeness and health to others, one at a time, or even as in communities as a whole. So I think it is such a powerful idea to be a part of a tribe, which is a lot of the work that I do within DMB Coaching and then my other company, Third Space, is how do we connect people together to be able to accomplish great things while being known, seen, loved. It is both and, which makes life so absolutely
Mm-hmm.
extraordinary. And I think you would agree. And I'm guessing even our listeners, regardless of their backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
their spiritual, religious, or secular beliefs about their worldviews, most people would agree that this life is not the end, that there is something beyond us,
Mm-hmm.
and that this continues, and that we tend to think that we're going to be wherever that is. So if that is true, I simply make this notion when we talk about tribe and community is that the most important thing we do on any given day, the most important investment any given moment is in human connection
Mm-hmm.
and in helping people become better and more whole. Because if what I just said is true, if you embrace that idea that there is an afterlife in whatever form or shape, however you make sense of it, that this
Mm-hmm.
conversation, even right now, Paul, it ripples for billions and trillions and zillions of years forward.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing else on this planet has that kind of lasting value or longevity. So when we talk about tribes, tribes are not temporal. Tribes are forever,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
different than technology, your first word. It's different than health and wellness, could be,
Mm-hmm.
potentially. But
Mm-hmm.
the tribe and the connection we have to human beings and the conversations we're having are forever. And I know I'm getting long winded here because I get so excited when I'm with you. But every morning when I wake up, one of my morning mantras is I wake up in the morning. So I take a deep breath. First of all, I say, I'm here. And that's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
But then I get to say two words. Today, my commitment is to be intentional and interruptible.
Mm-hmm.
Intentional and interruptible. So I want to be intentional. I want to be focused. I want to make decisions. I want to be proactive. But if a human being crosses my path, it's a moment,
Mm-hmm.
it's an opportunity. I'm not going to miss that opportunity. I'm willing to be interrupted in the midst of my intentionality. Why? Because the tribe in relationships and human connection is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Thank you. Three personal things. One, at the bottom of the StoryConnect website, at the very bottom in the smallest print, it says, "You are seen and loved." Why? Is because, second point, is that we sat down one day for lunch when I was, I don't know, like 20, 15-ish, 16 years ago. And you asked me the question, Paul, are you lonely? And of course I said no, but of course I was. And then we shared, like, not being lonely is being fully seen, fully known, and fully loved. And you extrapolated. I can feel that moment. Being fully known and rejected is really painful. And you can correct me how it's matured, if it has. Um, and if you're fully loved but fully known, then there's some masking going on, and then you're not actually fully loved because you're not fully known. And because of that conversation, I started to go through a demasking process personally, and I share about this vulnerably with others, is that I put on the personalities of at least 7 different friends that I beloved constantly. I would act like them, sound like them, put on their voice, borrow their personality, and when I did, I became them, so that the person who was talking to me would either reject them or love them, so that that could be a defense to allowing someone to fully know me and reject me. But then I never allowed anyone to fully know me and then love me. And through that process, I had one individual who started to help me demask all the reasons why I did put on those masks. And we had a whole process for this, eventually to the point where I felt fully known and fully loved and fully embraced. And it is the best thing in the world.
Yes.
There were reasons why I put on those masks. Those things needed healed. And then through the process of demasking and allowing myself to be fully present, I became fully loved. Not just by humans, but by humans. And that it changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the last point is that I felt that as a tribe in community for just that last year of college, those 12 times or 6 times that we met as Vanguard, which was men helping men be better men as a tribe.
Amazing.
So thank you.
My pleasure, my friend.
How else would you help us see the beauty and the power of community?
I think you've demonstrated and embodied and expressed it beautifully just now as you shared those personal things. But I think it goes back to that notion as you move toward people. If you want to be known and loved and you want to be seen, my challenge to your listeners would be to walk into every setting. It's a little counterintuitive what I'm about to say, but walk into every setting, every place, every space, every conversation, every relationship, being more interested in others and interesting to others,
Mhm.
seeking to give and not just get.
Mhm.
And that will help you actually feel more fully alive and more connected. That when you walk into a space, that you look around and say, who do I see? Versus who sees me?
Mhm.
And it begins to change everything. Because again, it's learning to pause, to walk more slowly. You use the term being seen and heard, and I think seen and loved is what you use. One of my favorite phrase. I have lots of little quippy phrases, but when I'm in the presence of a human, I want 3 things to be true when they walk away from our conversation. Um, I want them to feel seen, heard, and loved. So my choices in light of my outcomes, desirable outcomes, is that I want to look closely, listen carefully, and love extravagantly.
Mhm.
So in those moments when I'm in the presence of human, I want to look closely, which requires being present. Back to what we talked. If there's a phone in my hand and we're sitting at a table, I'm not looking closely.
Mhm.
I'm not listening carefully, not just listening in order to respond, but actually being present
Mhm.
and listening, being right there. And then loving extravagantly, seeking to support, encourage, challenge, affirm, sometimes rebuke, in that space that all falls under the umbrella of love because it's a gift to
Mhm.
the other person.
Mhm. So good. Thank you. Um, Maybe a final way to help someone conceptualize the depth of relationships and community, no matter which room you end up in, no matter which relationship you end up in front of, as you are there in service and love, um, connecting it back to the 12 dimensions. If we were to imagine that it's too simplistic, but if there was a tribe or a community connected to each one of those dimensions, how can your relationships connect to the wellness of each of those? Because through relationship, you get to embody and through osmosis of receiving and giving become more well. It's not a solo sport. Like wellness is a team sport and the tribe becomes stronger,
Of
more
course.
resilient. Yeah.
Of course. Well, and again, if you can imagine the way I'd envision the dimensions when I
Hmm.
teach them are these 12 equally, almost like a spoke on a wheel, perfectly
Hmm.
symmetrical kind of circles around this wheel. No one's
Hmm.
life looks like no
No.
one's life looks like that. So in many ways, what I have done in my own personal life, like I have prioritized above above all 12, I have 3 core dimensions that I think most intersect with the other, because there's intersectionality all the time between those dimensions. For instance, if I'm living beyond my means in the financial dimension, it's going to affect the emotional
Yeah.
and the relational.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm treating this body, the only thing that keeps my feet on this planet, poorly,
Mm-hmm.
it's affecting the relational dimension and probably the
Mm-hmm.
financial dimension, the sexual dimension, the emotional dimension. Like there's so much intersectionality, but for me, and I only speak for myself because I'm not prescribing for anyone, I'm simply reporting. For me, the 3 primary dimensions are the physical dimension, the relational dimension, tribe, and the spiritual
Mm-hmm.
dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 3 that tend to most intersect across. But the relational dimension, since you asked, like I'm not going to be my best financial self without community. I'm not going
Mm-hmm.
to be my best emotional self without community. I'm not going to be able to decode my culture and understand myself better. There's no way to engage in the cultural dimension apart from engaging with other human beings who are similar and different than me. And so
Mm-hmm.
all of those dimensions, for me, at least the way I've conceptualized it, they are near impossible
Mm-hmm.
to be maximized outside the context of a tribe or relationships.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yes. Well, thank you, Michael. This has been an episode of 3 Words. Sorry. Share with the listener how they can connect with DMB specifically or broadly, and then maybe a final encouragement, invitation, roll out the red carpet for this person who has some level of conviction for themselves or whoever they care about to take that right next best step.
I appreciate that. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. DMBcoaching.com. I mean, that's the best place to kind of land. And also DMB Coaching on the socials, YouTube, and so forth. You'll find podcasts there. You'll see a welcome video from me there. People can request coaching there. That's kind of the clearinghouse or the main hub for where you can get to all the other spaces and places that we've kind of built out. I love 3 Words podcasts. I'd encourage you to listen. They're bite sized. Everything I do is bite sized. The books I'm writing, 1 hour reads, cast 15 to 20 minutes. Um, but yeah, that's how you can connect with me. In regards to some final words and final thoughts, I would say this to quote one of my 3 Words podcasts: progress over perfection. People ask me all the time, Paul, well, yeah, how do I and how could I and how does it? And it's always the same. My answer is always the same. Someone, yeah, the 3 most requested topics I get as I travel the world. And again, I'm going to tease this out. The listener's going to go probably be frustrated that I shared these, and then we're not going to dive into them. But the 3 things I'm most asked to speak, regardless of the context around the world, is how do I build my confidence?
Mm.
How do I stop overthinking everything?
Mm.
Be successful.
Mm.
Well, in all of those things, we practice. That's it. I work with athletes, professional athletes, collegiate athletes. I do a lot of work in the sports performance world. And it's interesting. Everyone understands what practice means.
Yeah.
Like you practice so that you can play the game, right?
Yeah.
It makes so much sense. Like we got to practice all week. No one likes it. It's hard because it feels clunky and it doesn't. You're failing and you're falling and it's early. It's hard work to practice. The game feels more fun. Perfection seems more amazing. But progress, step forward, one more step forward, next choice, next best choice, atomic habits, do it again, practice again. That is how everything you ever hear me talk forever. Do not think, oh my gosh, how do I get that? How do I do that? There's nothing to do or get.
Mm.
You practice it.
Mm-hmm.
You do the thing in the moment. And then you do it for 21 days, you might have a habit. 90 days, you might have a lifestyle. But what happens
Mm-hmm.
is most people quit most of what they start
Mm-hmm.
or these big decisions they make. They're unsustainable. Just keep slowly practicing. But whatever you decide to practice, can I encourage you, listener, to do it more than 5 days? And they'd be like, oh, this doesn't work. Anything you heard, if you do for a period of time, it does. It will work. It just requires time and patience and practice. And that's true in technology. That's true in building a life that's well and wise and whole. And it's how you learn to be a human being with emotional intelligence and interest over interesting, giving over getting, all the things we talked about today in the tribe count. All three of these words in the tech wise require practice, progress, day by day, without being frustrated when you're not perfect. Because you know what, Paul, and I think you and I both agree with this, there is no perfection this side of heaven. There's lots of fear, lots of mess, so many issues, and we just, as my wife and I say often to each other, as we seek to raise our family, we're doing the very best we can. One choice at a time.
You said it. I heard you say the word day by day, and then I was like, I think that's too long. I really think that it's kind of breath by breath and choice by choice. So as you practice and you mess up, take a deep breath and then just make the right next choice.
That's exactly it.
Thanks, listener, for sticking with us to the end. Thank you, Dr. Michael Brown, for giving us the privilege and honor of your time and the accumulated choices and the way that you get to express those. I know that some people will just feel better today, and I'm so grateful for that. All right, thank you.
Cheers.
Hey, listener, welcome to the end of the podcast club, and I just wanted to thank you. It is an honor to do this for you. And as you go, take a moment to notice and reflect what struck you. What do you think will stay with you from this conversation? Becoming well and making the world a better place doesn't happen all at once. It happens through small, faithful practices over time, together, step by step, breath by breath. And if this podcast is helping you become more well or helping you imagine and do new ways of working together alongside others, you can help extend its reach. Rate, subscribe, and share this episode so these stories can find the people who need them. If you believe in this work and you want to help sustain and grow it, consider becoming a Story Connector, a financial partner helping fuel these conversations and strengthen connection where it's needed most. You'll find the link in the description. Thank you for listening and for practicing what it means to be well and work together. Until next time.